the difference. But what I want to focus more on right now is back to another similarity. Everybody likes beauty. And I want to devote a little bit of this lecture to talking about physical beauty. Physical beauty, as these beautiful people say, is a curse. So she's like a big model, a supermodel, maybe even a supermodel, points out the arbitrariness of finding her devastatingly beautiful. Famous actor points out how frustrating it is that people only ignore his accomplishments and focus merely on his physical beauty. This is very frustrating. So what is beauty? What does this mean when we say we find, yeah, they really are very attractive people. What is it about that that makes you look and say, yeah, that makes sense? Well, we kind of know the answer. We know some universals. Beauty seems to signal two things. Beauty seems to signal youth. I mean, not preschool youth, but youth like sexually mature, but young. And so the cues we find beautiful are cues to that. Large eyes, full lips, smooth, tight skin. Beauty signals something else. Beauty is a marker for health. And so what we find beautiful, things like the absence of deformities, clear eyes, unblemished skin, intact teeth, it's very big, and an average face. Now that last part might seem a little bit strange. What would be so good about an average face? And there's different answers to that, but one answer is an average face on average should be considered attractive because any sort of deformities are variations from the average. And if you average every face together, you get a face where nothing bad has happened to it. There's no distortions, there's no deviations. As one gets older, the face gets less symmetrical, and so on. Averageness seems to factor out all the bad things that could happen. Good theory. How do we know it's true? Well, there's a photo roster that I have access to for this class, so I can look at each of your pictures, and I will make you a bet about who has the most beautiful face in this course. The bet is it would be all of you. Aww. Wouldn't it be funny if I shouted out somebody's name? Yeah. If I did, and you know, A, I don't have the energy to do this, and B, it would probably violate 400 different privacy laws or whatever. But if I took all those faces and morphed them together, I would get a very pretty face. And how do we know this? Well, people have done this. They've done it with, so look at the faces from here to here. And if you are like most people, you see as they're going to the right, they're looking better and better and better. It's subtle. But it's actually not so subtle that babies don't notice it. The same researchers who constructed these faces, these average Caucasian faces, male and female, have shown these faces to babies and find that babies prefer to look at average faces, suggesting that our preference for averaging is not the product of culture, but rather is to some extent hardwired. These two people don't exist. They're computer composites. They're a heavily averaged male face and a heavily averaged female face, both from a Caucasian data sample. They don't look bad, right? They're good faces. They don't cheat. So the hair, for instance, is identical. So you can't use hair cues. But they're pretty attractive. But the story of attractiveness does not end there. How do you get a better than average face? What can you do to these faces, these average faces, and make them look even better? Well, I'll have a vote. Who's prettier? Who says the one on the right? Who says the one on the left? Left is average face. And there might be variation in this class. There are definitely variations in what people favor. This is a feminized version of the average face, where certain prototype features were made more feminine than average to cue this as more of a sexual object. This is more complicated. Who thinks face A is more attractive? Who thinks face B is more attractive? Okay. Most people like face B. The exception is, and this has been statistically replicated, I think now in 3 labs, face A is preferred by women who are ovulating. And the story about why is complicated and will take us beyond the scope of this class. But crudely, the idea is that this is a really handsome guy. He's young, he's healthy, he looks strong, good provider. This guy's really hot. And he may not be a good provider and everything, but I'm sure he has wonderful genes. So the idea is that one should have sex with him and then have him raise the kids.